everybody. Today is Thursday, the 5th, 6th, 7th, I don't know. I'm losing track of the days. Anyways, I'm on my way to work. I just got done with a unscheduled project. I was in the process of getting ready to hook up the faucet in the kitchen, and well, there was an issue. We had a kind of a funky smell in the upstairs bathroom, kind of like a sewer gas smell. I was curious on what could be causing that, so I got up on the roof and I checked the vent stacks up on the dormer upstairs. We have 3 vent stacks. We have one for the kitchen, which is on the east side of the house. We have the main vent stack, which is in the center of the house, and then we have another vent stack for the bathroom sink. So we have 3 vents. So I took a flashlight, I looked down in the vent for the upstairs bathroom. That vent was clear. I also looked in the vent stack for the main stack in the center of the house. Shone the flashlight down there. I could see as far as the eye could see, nothing in there. So then I went to the vent stack that was going to be servicing the kitchen sink, looked in there, and it was clogged almost to the top. So what it was, we have a ironwood tree, and they have what's called catkins. These are seed pods that develop in the spring, and they look like just a really itty-bitty microscopic cluster of grapes. It's actually like little tiny seeds. And when they get further along in their maturity, they get dried out, and then the wind blows and they fall off the tree, and that's how they spread their seeds. Well, a whole bunch of that was collection of that was up on the roof, and it had gotten into the vent stack and clogged it up solid. So what I did was I took a vacuum, shop vac, and sucked them all out. So here's my setup to fix the clog in the vent stack. So at the top of that ladder, I got a couple of brackets to hold the shop vac. I have a flexible hose and a PEX pipe with 2 90s, so I can actually put it in that pipe up there to the left of the vacuum. So that pipe sticking out through the roof. So what I did was I vacuumed out as much debris as I could, and then I used my vacuum to pull everything out. But I hit an obstruction, so I use this little doodad here. This is a snake, a plumbing snake. So you hold it here and you turn that crank, and it spins this little corkscrew, and there's a wire coiled up inside of there. You see it in there. You just pull out a length, and then you lock it with that little lever, and then you spin it, and it kind of corkscrews into the obstruction, and you can kind of auger right through it. So I did that a bunch of times. This thing is a 15-footer. I got all 15 feet in there. But then I went to vacuum with this hose, and I only got to that tape mark, which is 4 feet. I'm like, what? Is there something in there? So I went inside of the closet, and I found out there was actually a right-hand bend and then a left-hand bend with a union. Here's inside of our closet. We have a little cubby hole, and there's the vent stack, but it does take a 90 down there, and it looks like there might even be a union, so I can get that apart if I ever had to. So that's interesting. So when I got the snake down there in the vacuum, it stopped dead right in that elbow. I'm like, I know that goes down another 5-6 feet. Well, it takes a right and then a left and goes down through the wall. So I'm good. I think I got this thing cleared. So what I'm going to do is pour some water down there and make sure that it drains. In a little crawl space up in that angled part of the roof, and that gets it from the roof penetration back into the wall to go down in the kitchen. So poured 2 gallons of water. I had some right down here. I've since filled those back up, but I poured 2 gallons of water in there, drained right down. So that vent is clear. Now we're all set to put in the faucet for the kitchen. I wanted to get that vent cleared first before I did anything else, because when I was up there checking vents earlier, that one was clogged with catkins. And catkins are from the ironwood tree. See if I can find you some. Let's see, here we go. So these are catkins from the ironwood tree. If you look at these little thingies here, These are the seeds for the ironwood tree, and they kind of hang down the tree and they bust off and they fall on the roof, and a whole bunch of these got inside of that pipe and clogged it up. Luckily I caught it, so I got that cleaned out of there. If that vent is clogged up, what'll happen is the sink won't drain right. It'll like glug. It won't be a clean shot, and it could get backed up. So there's my setup. I just made it out of some PEX pipe and duct tape, and I made it so that if I lose the pipe, it'll hook and I won't lose it in the pipe and never be able to retrieve it. So that's my setup, and I gotta put all this stuff away and put in the faucet. And then I hit an obstruction, and I'm like, oh geez, I don't know if there's a dead squirrel in there, or a bird, or a walnut, or what's down there. So I was like, well, let me go with a smaller diameter nozzle for the vacuum cleaner, because the one that I had was about 1.5 inches, and we have a 3-inch vent stack, so it makes sense that at some point that maybe that pipe narrows down to a smaller size. So I ended up finally using a PEX tubing, which is 1/2 inch. And I had to make a little special nozzle to get that down there. Here's a close-up of my vacuum nozzle that I made custom. So it runs up to a bunch of duct tape, goes to PEX, and I got these 290s that are just zip tied together. So I kind of get that little hook like that, and it comes down here, and that's the vacuum end right there. So that worked out pretty good. And I kept running into an obstruction at the 4-foot mark, because I put a tape measure down there. So I said, well, let me run my plumbing snake down there. So I have a 15-foot plumbing snake, and that went all the way through, the full 15 feet. So I'm like, huh, maybe there's something in there, and it's just kind of sneaking by. So I said, well, hold on, let me look there's a little secret door in our upstairs closet, because there's kind of a open space between the dormer side and the roof line. And so I looked in there, and I got a good look at the vent. And what it does is it's a 3-inch vent that tapers down to a 2.5 inch steel pipe, but it makes a right and a left turn, and then it goes down through the wall of the kitchen. So there's kind of like an S-turn. So I'm like, that's why I couldn't go any further with that vacuum, because it can't turn the corner, but the snake went around it. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty convinced that the catkins that I vacuumed out was all that was in there. I took 2 gallons of water, poured it down the vent stack, had my wife keep an eye on the sanitary tee that goes into the kitchen cabinet. No water came through that, so that means that was clear. It was going right down the vent, right into the drain, down to our main drain. So I'm convinced that that's clear. So another thing I did was I looked around to make sure there wasn't any open plumbing, and I forgot that when I plumbed in the laundry sink drain, I never plugged it. So here's one of the other areas that I had to fix. I had forgotten to cap the sanitary tee that's going to come out for the trap for the laundry sink. So what I did was I just pushed the length of pipe in there and put this plug, and that sealed the system back up. Because it's not in there yet, so there's no elbow with a water trap. So it just was wide open. It says, oh geez. So I cut a piece of 1.5 inch pipe with a cap, plugged it in there. So now the system is 100% legit. So within like 10 or 15 minutes, I went up to the sink in the bathroom, and the smell's gone. So what I'm going to hypothesize what was happening was because the vent was clogged, that created a vacuum in the vent system. So what was happening is when we turned on the faucet and the water went down through the water trap, because there was a vacuum, it was siphoning the water right out of the elbow that's supposed to prevent sewer gases from coming up the vent. So the combination of breaking the vacuum by clearing out the vent and capping the system in the laundry room where I had an open pipe, that fixed it. So the smell that was in the upstairs bathroom is subsided. We had the window open to kind of just air that out. So that's clear. There's no more bad smells up there. Jane had noticed a funky smell in the laundry room, but that was because that vent wasn't capped. That's going to be used for the laundry sink plumbing. So happy ending. We got all that straightened out. I wanted to make sure that that was clear and draining and breathing properly before I put in the sink for the kitchen, or not the sink, the faucet. So I didn't even want to attempt to do anything in there till that the vent was clear, because there was also the potential I was going to have to run the snake through the sanitary tee underneath the sink cabinet and auger it out from that direction. As luck would have it, that wasn't necessary. But if it was necessary, if I had installed the faucet, then that would have just been all in the way. I would have had to take that all out of there again anyways. So now I'm free and clear to put the faucet in tomorrow. It was kind of a hiccup, but with a vent stack clogged, that sink never would have drained properly anyways. So I'm glad I took the time to sort through that and get that figured out. So as you can see, my workbench is completely organized. Everything that I use, I put it right back in its place, because you never know when you're going to need it. You want to be able to find it exactly in the same spot that you left it. So what I've done is I've prescribed to the chaos theory. Works pretty good. You know, like here's all my plumbing stuff right there, my zip ties, my cold expansion fitting thing, all my power tools. You know, I got everything right here, right where I need it. I mean, I don't have to really look too far. I just come to the bench, stare at it for a couple seconds, I go, oh, there it is. I got a comment in one of my YouTube videos when I use my office here in the car to do my narration. They're like, what the heck is that thing squeaking in the back? I hear it all the time. You're probably hearing it right now. Well, what we have in the back is an antique vacuum cleaner. I think it's called a Cyclone. It's a hand-actuated vacuum. We got it from our Aunt Dee Dee a while back, and we had it stored, and I had to move it somewhere to do this renovation. So I just stuck it in the back seat of the van. So there's some metal pieces that are just shaking around a little bit that are making that racket. I'll show you what it looks like. It's actually pretty interesting. Jane's looking for a museum that wants to put it on display, because it is an antique. But for now, I wanted to keep it in a nice, safe, dry place. So it's in the back seat of the van. I got it covered up with a blanket, but there's something leaning up against it that's making that squeak noise. So I'll show you that, just to answer the question in my comments. So I'll show you what's making that squeak. I just got used to it. It's kind of like wind chimes to me. So thanks for the question. Your answer is forthcoming. Here it is. So here's what's been making that squeaky noise. This is a antique vacuum cleaner. Got it covered up with a blanket. Let me uncover it here. This is called a Cyclone vacuum cleaner from Bradford, Pennsylvania. So we had to move some stuff around for a renovation, so I just put this in the van. So here's an overall look at it. It's mounted on a wooden base, and there's a articulating thing right here that goes back and forth. There's a handle, which is right here, that fits into that. Nice long handle. And what you do is you pump this back and forth, and there's a bellows in there that articulates, creates a vacuum, and then you hook up a hose to this end here, and in here is the bag for it is in here. So it's like a cloth bag with clips. So this is an old school manually operated vacuum cleaner, and we've been trying to find a museum that might want to have this on display, because this thing's pretty cool. I'm going to put a link in the description for a video that shows this thing in a little more detail. So click on that if you want to see more details. I'm going to cover this back up. We're trying to keep this preserved while it's in the van. It's been in here a couple of weeks, but I need to move it in a better place than here. This is just the quick and easy spot to put it temporarily. I'm going to put a cap on it. So I need a cap, 3-inch cap diameter, to cover this up to prevent any future contamination from getting inside of there.